Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You only get one chance, right? This is day 2. It's very late in the evening, at least for me, because I am one that goes to bed early now. But I still wanted to continue my commitment of my 30-day challenge to give insight into what's going on with myself and see my own personal growth and hopefully help those that are struggling just like I am get the help that they need and inspire somebody to even help others or their family or friends that are really struggling. So today was a great day in the scheme of all of my days because sometimes I have really good days and sometimes I have bad days still. Today was a great day. It was a scary day. I actually went out in public for the first time in a while. I have pretty much been either in the hospital or homebound for the last month and a half, maybe even longer. I can't quite pinpoint the last time I was out and about, other than going to the grocery store, which is always an adventure for me. My company sponsors an event, a rodeo, so the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and I was able to get tickets to see Walker Hayes this evening. And see the rodeo, of course, which if anybody knows me, I absolutely love the rodeo. I wear boots on a daily basis. They are my favorite thing to wear. I grew up in small towns, and my husband is very much of a country boy. He hadn't even lived in a city until me. He grew up on farmland and ranch land, and he worked as a ranch hand for a long time until we moved to the city, and he had to change careers. But today was a great day to be in the sunshine. It was a beautiful day outside, but it was a tough day. I think being in the hospital for the 2 weeks, because I was in the 2 different centers, which I'll talk about the second center today, and I promise to keep this video shorter than the 30 minutes the first one was. I had some people comment to me that 30 minutes is a long time to watch something, so I will promise to keep it as short as I can with getting the information in that I want to get in today. But the rodeo was the first time that I was outside with a lot of people enjoying something that I love to do. Sadly, I am in a wheelchair at this point. I can't walk very far. I get really tired really easily. I'm hoping to start physical therapy here very shortly, and I am still healing and recovering from a pretty bad fall that I had while I was at the hospital and got a concussion and other things. So I am still working right on healing. That's the whole point of this vlog. But I am in a wheelchair, and so that requires somebody to push me because I don't have the strength in my arms to wheel myself around most of the time. And if anybody's ever been to a rodeo, especially the Houston rodeo, it's huge, it's massive, and it's a lot of walking. So thankfully, my mother graciously pushed me around the entire day. The good news is I was able to use the elevators instead of having to walk up ramps and stairs and things like that, because it would have been very, very tough. But for those of you that, know my family or have any knowledge of my mom, she also suffers from different illnesses, and it's a lot on her. So she did it. She pushed me around. She was exhausted by the end of it. I'm pretty sure her arms are going to be completely sore tomorrow. But the good news is tomorrow my husband is getting to go with me as well. And so hopefully, cross your fingers, he will be able to push me most of the time. It was a lot of fun, the rodeo. It was a lot of people. It was a lot of input. And due to my disorder, that's a lot for me. Input and different types of inputs aren't always the best, which I learned, and I'm still learning, because I have never really focused on what my triggers are that bring on these episodes. Because like I said in my first video, for the last 20 years, I've believed I had epilepsy, which epilepsy, there are still triggers to epilepsy, but it's different. Sometimes with epilepsy, there's nothing you can do, or you don't get an aura, or they happen so randomly, especially when you're not on medication for epilepsy, which I was not for the last at least 10 years, because again, I thought I was handling it. So today I did my best to handle all of the inputs. I was in my wheelchair being pushed by my mother, and I had noise canceling headphones that we picked up from, I think it was Home Depot, on our way, so that if it did get to be too much, I could try to cancel out some of the noise, because there are thousands of people that go to the rodeo. I felt like a burden all day long, and that was the hardest part, other than all of the inputs, because I should be able to do these things for myself, right? I should be able to walk, right? That's a basic thing that people do. I learned today and experienced being in a wheelchair in public with a lot of people. I can never imagine those that suffer from illnesses and disorders and medical problems that are wheelchair bound or even bed bound, and that's all they know, or something tragically has happened and has put them in this wheelchair. I felt like a burden all day long, because I felt like I couldn't do anything for myself. I couldn't open a door. I couldn't pay. They had to bring like the pay thing down to my level so that I could pay with my card when we had snacks, or when we bought, anything at the vendor fair that's there. And that was really hard, because again, I'm a control freak and I'm very independent and I like to do things myself, but I couldn't. So while I enjoyed everything about today, it was fun, there was a part of me that wasn't present. There was a part of me that was constantly in the back of my mind saying, "You're a burden, you are inconveniencing a lot of people. Look at all these people staring at you. You're young. You shouldn't be in a wheelchair. What are they saying about you? How do they feel looking at you?" And it was incredibly intimidating. Again, I cannot speak for those that have to be in the wheelchair or, like I said, bedbound all the time. I can't imagine, and I hope I don't have to continue to be in this wheelchair. But it was an experience that was very eye-opening for me. So anyway, enough about my day. I promise I will talk about the concert I saw tonight, tomorrow, once I kind of process everything. But I want to talk about the second facility I was in, because the first facility that I talked about yesterday was very different than the second one. So I checked myself in. This is day 2 of me being out of the second facility. The second facility I checked myself into was frightening and completely scary for me. The first facility, my mom got to be with me for the entire intake process. The second facility, my husband and my mother went because he got to get off work to take me, to be there for me. And this minute we got to this facility, they were told to leave. And I had to do the intake process by myself, which for me raises anxiety because I'm all alone again, right? I feel isolated. The intake process wasn't as difficult, I would say, as the first time, because this particular center, we had called ahead of time to make sure that they could accommodate someone like me and have the comfort in knowing that they have the medical staff there. And this particular center was actually attached to a hospital, so they weren't concerned, like the first facility, that they wouldn't be able to meet my needs if an episode arises or there's a problem with that side of things. So intake process is easier, I guess, because we had already called ahead and had asked some questions. Plus, I'd already been in one facility, and so they're like, okay, well, she's already been in one, and it was like not even a week ago that she got out, so probably she needs to go back in if she's back here again trying to voluntarily check herself in somewhere. So they let me in. I was on what they call a high-risk floor at that time, because the first facility I was in, I talked about in my first vlog about the things they ask you, right? They ask you about your sleep habits and your anxiety and your depression, and do you want to hurt yourself? Do you want to hurt others? Are you suicidal? Those kind of things, which are obviously very much triggers for a lot of people. Sadly, the second time I checked myself in, I was in such a dark place that I was there. I didn't want to wake up the next morning. I felt like such a burden to my family, to my friends, to myself. I felt like I didn't want to live life anymore. And that thought had control over me and had continued to get worse and worse and worse the week that I was home, before checking myself in to this second facility. So when you typically answer those questions with a yes, usually they're like, okay, well, she needs to be watched and monitored more closely than those that answer no, because they're afraid that you're going to hurt yourself or hurt others due to whatever you have or whatever you're battling at the moment. And so they did put me on a high-risk floor. And it's probably, as you can imagine, it's very similar to movies, actually. where there's bulletproof glass that the nurse desk is behind. This facility, I didn't just have one roommate, I had 3. So there were 4 of us in a room. We didn't get pillows. So we had a bed that had this little, like it had a little bit extra foam or whatever it was in it for your head. But most people used rolled up sheets as pillows because they didn't provide them. This facility also put us in scrubs, so we couldn't wear our own clothing. For the first 48 hours, we had to wear scrubs. And they felt like paper, in case anybody was wondering. They're not like the nice ones, they're throwaway ones. So put us in scrubs. I couldn't even have my shoes. I was in socks with, the sticky things on the bottom so that you don't slip or fall. I was told I couldn't have visitors. I was told that I couldn't get any other food other than what was provided to me for the hospital purposes, that I would be able to talk to a nutritionist a couple of days after I'd been there, but that it was you get what you get kind of thing. And we couldn't go outside. So we were literally locked on this floor, this high risk floor, with people that had more issues than me. Even they were battling deeper demons or their own mind more than I was. At least that's what it looked like to me, because in my mind, I was still okay, even though I was in this really, really, really dark place. My brain saying, yeah, you're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's great. You can do this. You're not like them. They have it worse than you do. Don't worry. And come to find out, later in my stay, I had demons and battles I was fighting and my mind was fighting that I didn't even understand. So this facility did an incredible job of getting me in front of the doctors day 1. This was a teaching hospital as well, so there were probably 4 or 5 people the first day that I went in to meet with the doctors, and again told my story, right? Told this is what's happening, this is what's going on. I didn't have any support to help back up these things that I were telling them, right? Because my mom and my husband were not allowed to come visit me. I could only call them from the phones that were on in the group area, because it was still a male-female mixture, but obviously the rooms were there were 4 females to a room and 4 males to a room, and there were several rooms, so it wasn't they were mixing them in between. But this facility didn't have doors. It didn't really have anything, because everything that you could use to hurt yourself or hurt others, they've obviously taken precautions and they've learned, right? When somebody does something, they're like, oh, we probably need to take that away. So this particular facility got me in front of the doctors. There were 4 to 5 people in this room. I told my story. And for the first time over my entire journey of all of my health problems, I finally felt heard. They gave me the time and attention. They did not rush me out when an hour was over, right? They did not rush me out to try to get to the next patient. They sat, listened to me, and asked questions that no one has ever asked me before. I finally felt that somebody was listening. They didn't do a whole lot of changing anything the first day, because they don't want to disrupt all the medications that I'm taking right then and there. They want to get to know me better. They want to do that, which again was very different because the first facility, the first day I met with doctors, they put me on different medications. They were like, this, you're going to take this, this, and this, this. The second facility sat, listened, and goes, okay, we're going to formulate a plan together, all of these people in this room, instead of just one doctor. And we are going to put a plan together. Most of people in the room were students and didn't even know about PNES or pseudo seizures. And so they were asking like crazy questions that I wouldn't even probably have thought to ask because they had no idea what we were talking about, because it's not something that's widely known. Even the nurses on the floor, the high-risk floor that I was on, I still had to explain to them every time a nurse change happened or every time a shift change happened, like, this is me. This is what I experienced. This is what it looks like. Please don't, panic or freak out when something like this happens. This is what I'm going through. This is what I'm dealing with, because it's very, very uncommon. And I cannot believe that it's that uncommon that I had to call 15 facilities before I found this one to actually take me that had, low battery mode on my phone, but that had like medical staff that would be able to take care of me. So the doctors finally listened. They finally heard me. They formulated a plan. They dried me out, which was the worst 3 days I have ever experienced, because they took me off my anxiety medications, my depression medications. They still kept me on my seizure medications, because that one obviously you don't want to mess with until we're 150% sure that I don't have actual seizure like activity, epileptic activity with PNES, because they do go hand in hand a lot of the time. And so he was like, we're not messing that one, but we are going to draw you out of these others. The worst 3 days I've had in a long, long time. But they listened. They took away the things that were giving me the brain fog, that left me feeling numb, that left me feeling like I was a shell of myself. They put me then on new medications, and because of those new medications, you get to see this now. I am not obviously 100%. I have a lot of work to do, but this is day 2 of me being out in the world, out of the hospital, and I survived going out in public with other people without completely melting down in those interactions. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that's a win for me. So on that high note, I'm going to end day 2. I again will promise to continue day 3 with more about what the doctors did for me at this facility. And I promise the crazy stories of what happens in these facilities is still coming. And then I do want to talk about the concert, the Walker Hayes concert that I saw tonight, but I want to collect my thoughts before talking about that and how it relates to everything that I'm going through. So again, I hope this is helping a lot of you out there that are suffering from a hidden illness or the illnesses you can't see just by looking at someone. If you have any questions, comments, for me, I'm more than happy to address them. I am so excited that some of you are following me and are invested in this journey with me. I can't thank you enough, and I will see you next time. Bye.